Hey there guys, how's it going? It's Afraid Not, and we're back with another episode of I Own, and today we'll be covering Wolfenstein: A New Order. It's the latest installment in the Wolfenstein series. Now, I have never played any Wolfenstein game before this one, and I read a lot of reviews before the release of this game, and I have to admit all the reviews, well, not all of them, but pretty much most of them were fairly negative, and it wasn't until I actually watched some footage of it and watched a review from a source that I actually trust, and I watched it and I thought, you know what, this game actually looks really good. So what's it about? You follow American soldier William Blazkowicz in the opening scenes in World War II, and you're fighting against the German Nazis. Something really badly happens to you, or William, and you get put into a mental home for 14 years, and that is when the story really starts. The game is set in the 1960s, so it's a good, again, 15 years after World War II, and the main plot of it really is that the Nazis actually won World War II, which is quite a nice twist on things. I was saying this to a few people I know, and I was saying, can you imagine like a series or a film about that kind of thing? That would be just epic, I think. You could go so many ways about it. So as you can imagine, this game is very story driven, however it doesn't take itself seriously, which is really good. I'm so happy with that. I mean, it is that typical run and gun game. I mean, stealth is supported, but it's not a complete requirement, although on some levels, as you can possibly imagine, you're going to have to use a bit of stealth and use your head at times. But really, you can just go into rooms full of 20 people and just take them all out with really relatively no problem at all. I'll tell you what this game actually reminds me of. It reminds me of like a Duke Nukem game or a Half-Life game to a certain degree, and sometimes even a Doom game, like, I don't know if you guys remember Doom from back in the day. I know they brought one out recently which was nothing like Doom 1 and Doom 2, but it's very similar to that. It's a lot of people on the reviews which I read before and were saying it's very linear, just like Doom is, and to a certain degree it is quite linear. Basically, you've got one place that you can get out and you have to get to that point. There are a few routes you could take, but it's not very varied. It's not like an open world game at all, but it's not as varied as Dishonored. If any of you have played Dishonored, I played that for a little while and I really enjoyed that game because, again, you had to get to a certain point, but there was obviously about 3 or 4 different ways you can get to that point, which I quite like about that game. But I've no problem with like linear games as long as it tells a really good story. I've got absolutely no problem with that. I mean, you could tell with the Call of Duty games. I mean, I would always say that Call of Duty have the best single players that are on the market at the moment. I absolutely love Call of Duty single player games, and I've always got time to play them, and that is very linear. I mean, that is like a corridor shooter. You're on wheels. You can call it all kinds of things, and this game has got elements of that, but there's so many little things that you can find, and there's like little secret things you've got to decrypt the enigma. I cannot say that word. Enigma code, I think it is. It's a little piece of hardware that was used back in the war, but you've got to decrypt it and you've got to find these little things, and you have to look in drawers, and there's loads of little secrets. So if you're that kind of player that likes to go around looking for secrets in 100% in games, then you've got plenty of that in this game. There's plenty of like nooks and crannies that you can go in and have a look at. I'm probably sound like I'm a bit rambling on here, so let's move on to the next one. The gameplay mechanics is really good. I found it a little bit like slow on the controls at first. Once you get used to it, there's no problem at all. I played it on the PlayStation 4. I forgot to mention, this is actually a PlayStation 4 footage you're seeing in the background, and actually one of the hardest levels I think I played at the time. I really struggled with this one. But yeah, the gameplay mechanics are really well done. I think people on the PC are struggling a little bit with it. I know the lean feature is a little bit different on PC, not what you're used to. I mean, when you use the lean feature on other games on PC, you normally use the Q and E one, and I believe it's something like you have to hold Alt and the arrow buttons or something. It's a really dodgy way of doing things, so I think the PC version's kind of lacked it in just with the controls in general. But yeah, what I really like about this game is, as you can see at the bottom of the screen there, you've got 80% health. Now, it's not regenerable. You cannot get the health back by doing nothing. I mean, it goes up to a certain point. I think if you get down to sort of like five health left, it goes up to about 10 or 20 or something like that, and I think you can work on that with the in-game perks, which I will go into, but that's what I really like about it. And then you actually have to physically pick up health packs throughout the game, something that reminds me again a lot of like Half-Life and that kind of thing. Also, the same principle works for like armor as well, so you have to pick up armor. The interesting thing about health is that when you actually have 100 health, so you got maximum health, you can still pick up ammo packs, and every single ammo pack is worth differently. It might be worth 20, it might be worth 80 or something like that, and it actually puts you onto 180 health, but it will go down very, very quickly. Like, it will go from 180, 179, 178 whilst you not even get hit or nothing, so that's really good. So it's kind of like overclocking it, you know, but it always go back to 100 and stay there. Reading up on the reviews before the game, they were saying about how many or how little weapons there were in the game. I didn't find a problem at all. There's only one assault rifle, which is good enough, and I think there's one pistol, there's one of everything, let's say. I mean, there's one like a marksman rifle, that it's not a sniper rifle. You can use it like a sniper rifle, but it really is just like a marksman rifle, like an MK14, something like that. You've also got this laser lightning plasma gun, whatever it is. I mean, you can use that to actually drill holes in the wall and things like that. And when I say this was set in the 1960s, and it doesn't take itself seriously, like, just look at the gun I'm using right now, just mowing down this machine. Now, it doesn't look like it's set in the 1960s, does it? I think the plan of it, or the plot of it, is that the Nazis are so far advanced in technology, and you get to pick up and use all their kind of tech as well, so that's always a lot of fun. One thing I do particularly like about the combat and things like that is that you can dual wield everything, make them akimbo. You can akimbo 2 machine guns, and like, for me it seems ridiculous. Like, obviously you could probably think that you can have 2 pistols, one in each hand. You can do the same with a shotgun, you can do the same with the assault rifle. It is silly, but it's an aspect of the game that I really like. Let's talk about the things that I'm not particularly over the moon with. Now, there's no multiplayer mode, and if there was a multiplayer mode, I can just design the levels for you already. I mean, look at the screen now. I mean, a level like this in multiplayer against, you know, 4 other people, 4 on 4, using all the guns that they've got in this game, I think will just be a lot of fun. Hopefully they'll patch it in. I don't know if they will. You know, if they had a multiplayer mode in it, the only thing that really stops that with me is that I actually haven't got this game anymore. Now, I know I've called this I own, and technically I don't actually own this game. I did own it. I bought it on Wednesday and I completed it on Monday, and I traded it in for Watch Dogs, so I kind of like had a chance. I completed the game, by the way. This isn't a first impressions video. I have played it from start to finish, and I enjoyed every single minute of it, to be honest. But the reason that I had to trade it in is because there was no replayability for me. I'm not one of those players that will go back and play the story again, like start from beginning to finish, to find all the mystery items, all the secret items. I know a lot of people do that. I'm not one of them. Once I played the story, I feel like it's done, and it's not something that I want to dip back into and play all over again. So unfortunately, there's no replayability. Once you complete the story, there's not really a lot else you can do after that. There's 5 difficulty levels. I think I got about 80% of the way through on the middle one, the normal mode, and then for the last couple, because I was in a little bit of a rush, it got to like Monday night at like 8 o'clock, and I was just like, I know I'm near the end, but I've just got to really hurry this game and get this story finished, because our Watch Dogs is coming out and I was going midnight to obviously trade it in, so I wanted to get the game completed. So I lowered the difficulty level, and to be honest, the normal mode was really difficult. It was, for me anyway. I'm not the best gamer in the world, but I found it quite challenging, and I did die quite a lot of times. The graphics on a whole are good. I really like them. I don't know if it's going to look any better on PC. I've heard that the texture quality isn't all that great, which is unfortunate. It's available on the PS4, the Xbox One, the PC, the 360 and the PlayStation 3, and it's 40 quid. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a rating, and if you haven't already, please subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.